All right, let's talk about cards, which is the third Greenfoot example that I have. It deals with playing cards. There's actually three different styles or decks of cards you can choose from. I'll show you how to configure those. To start with, let's go into the card thing. So get a hold of the zip file, however you need to get it, unzip it or extract it. Go in here. Oh, that was weird. Well, whatever. Find the Project Greenfoot, double click it. It will open the Greenfoot project. So here it is. If I click run, it runs. It doesn't really do anything, but every time I click, it deals out a different card. And, where it deals out the hearts. And then, it actually just keeps going. And then all the cards get sort of stuck on the right there as it goes through everything. So it doesn't do very much. The cool thing is that we have a class for card and a way to get the images of the cards over it. So that's really what I want to show you how all that works. So let's look at card. So we're going to pop open the editor here. So card extends actor because these are going to be sprites or entities that can do something in our Greenfoot world. They have a rank and a suit. Those are rank would be ace, 2, 3, up to 10, and then jack, queen, king. So basically the rank. Suit would be heart, diamond, spade, club. Um, um, the constructor here just sets these, and then what it's going to do is figure out a file name and then load the Greenfoot image of that file name. Let me show you what to rank string is doing. The suit is just a letter, H, D, C, or S for heart, diamond, club, or spade. The rank string is going to be the numbers 2 through 10 just as digits, and then ace would be A, jack is J, queen is Q, and king is K. So let me show you this two rank string, just given a rank, which is an integer, it will convert it to the corresponding letter. So if it's 11, that's basically a jack, because that's the first one after a 10. So it does J, queen is 12, king is 13. And then aces can be low or high. So it depends on how you construct your deck. So the ace could be 1 or it could be 14. If you want the ace to be high, it doesn't really matter. Either case is going to come back with an A. And then otherwise, if the rank is some other number, we're going to return rank plus an empty string. This is just a really simple way to convert an integer to a string. We're concatenating it with an empty string. There is an integer dot toString static method or whatever, but this is less typing. So this is how a lot of experienced programmers do it. So it basically just takes the rank, which is a number like 1 through 13 or 2 through 14, and converts it to to a slightly more descriptive string, combines it with the suit, right? So we get the, AS for ace of spades dot PNG, because these are PNG, that's the file format. And then what we're doing is we're creating this new Greenfoot image. This is a constructor for Greenfoot image. How do we know that this exists? Well, it's in the Greenfoot API. We can go up here. We can go down here and find Greenfoot image. And you can see there's a constructor that looks for a file name. So this creates a new Greenfoot image from the file contained at that file name. So it's looking in the images folder. Style, this is just up here, modern, cards, or classic, the three different styles of cards I'll show you. This I have set as an instance variable. It doesn't really need to be an instance variable. This means every card's going to have it. It really could just have one copy. In fact, I probably should make this static. In fact, I should probably make this public static final, because once the code compiles and runs once, it doesn't need to change. You would sort of change it and then run it again. You wouldn't like change it in the middle of running. So public static final, oh, public static final string. These are typically considered constants. I'll change that and get it uploaded to look like that. Yeah, so this sort of finds the file and loads it. Now, how do we know that that's what the files look like? Well, I constructed it that way. So let me show you a little bit more about this. So here, I want it to look like this. There we go. Here is the cards project. This is the project Greenfoot. I double clicked. Here's the images folder. If we go in here, we have cards, classic, and modern. If I look in here at cards, you can see here's the two of hearts. So that's what it looks like for this. This is like a more sort of old school pixelated look. These are pretty small and hard to read. So I mean, I can't, honestly, I can't remember where I got these. These I know where I got them, and credits.txt tells you where I got them. These have a little bit more of a like a less cluttered look, a little bit more, a little less pixelated of a look. Um, Modern, I think, is also very nice. This is a has a little bit more like um gradation on the color scheme and things like that. A little bit more rounded. I don't know. Depends on which one you want. The classic look, the modern look, or cards, which is just like the really pixelated look. So depending on which, so like right now I have it set for the modern look. If I want to go to the cards look, the sort of original one, I put that in, I compile it, I come back here, I run it, and now I've got the very pixelated cards. And you can still read them. They're not like super easy to read, but you can still read them. You can still tell what they are. Now, one of the reasons is I've scaled them up by a factor of two, and I'll show you how I did that in a second. So we go back here to card. So the constructor, we've got the rank, we've got the suit, we create the file name, we load the Greenfoot image, and then if the style is cards, so those are the sort of small, kind of hard to read cards, we're going to take the image and scale it up. We're going to get its width and double it and get its height and double it. So that scales it up by a factor of two. That's why the pixelated cards are a little bit bigger. And then we do set image to whatever this image is, right? So we set the rank in the suit. We use the rank in the suit to sort of create a 2D for two of diamonds, or AC for ace of clubs. you know, create the correct string. We stick PNG in the end of it. We know to look in the images folder. We know style tells us like whether it's cards or modern or classic, which one we're looking for. So we get that image. We double the size of it if style was cards. And then we set image. What that means is that each of these cards is a different instance of the class card, but they're all going to have a different image that's over the top of them based on these Greenfoot images that we've loaded from all these images in these folders. This is the way that we can get cards. And then the cards don't have anything in for act. It's really just the constructor. There's a toString that just converts it to a string that would just like take, 13H and turn it into KH for King of Hearts. And then this is just this helper method, the static helper method, given a rank, converts it to the string. So there's not really a lot to the card class. It's just mostly a cool way to get custom card images for different cards in whatever game you're going to make. Now, the other thing that I do need to show you, it's not super interesting, but it is important to think about how to get started with this, is how are we storing the cards and how are we like clicking to deal them out? The first thing is, we have my world, which extends world, and we have three variables here. We have cards, which is an array that's going to store the cards. It's of type card. We have card number and offset. Offset is basically how far from the left we are as we lay out the different cards. We sort of offset it a little bit more. So I just made that an instance variable so we can keep track of it. And card number this is basically just the index. This is going to start out at 0. That's going to be the first card in the cards array, and 1 is going to be the second card, and so on. So my world, we made it 600 by 400, 1 pixel at a time. Why? I don't know. That seemed like a reasonable size, so we stuck with it. This array we're going to make of size 52 because there's 52 playing cards. We're going to start our index out at 0. That's going to be where to put things, or start index out at 0 and then have it move along. I created this array of suits. I just used the short array creation syntax, for HDCS. And then I'm doing this for each loop, for string colon suits. This is just a really nice syntax in Java for each loops. This is so I don't have to say like for int I equals 0, I less than suits dot length, I plus plus, and then the first line string suit equals suits square bracket I. Like this just does all of that for you and iterates through everything that's in this array. And if you notice here, like I could have done this like this, but it turns out you don't need that part. Like this brackets, Java will figure out that that's what you meant and just do that for you. You don't even have to put the new string in there. So that's kind of a cool feature of Java. This iterates through the suit. And then for each of those suits, it's going to go through the ranks from 1 to 13. And then cards at index is at first 0. It's going to create a new card with the given rank and the given suit. And then that card constructor, that's going to like take that rank and convert it to ace or 7 or whatever it is, or heart. Sorry, wouldn't convert it to heart, convert it to A for ace or J for jack, or just the string 7 for the number 7, and then the suit, it'll sort of look up that image, create that image, and then we're going to add one to the index. Why? Well, because we have nested loops, because we're going through 4 suits, and for each of those 13 ranks, 13 times 4 is 52. Um, so that's why we have this extra index variable that starts out at 0 and then just bumps along by 1 for each card that we put in there. And then when we're done, this cards array is stored because it's an instance variable. We don't do anything to card num, so it just gets the default value as 0, which means like the first thing is 0 and offset initially is 0. So then what we have in our act method, and it turns out world has an act method, so approximately 30 frames a second or 30 time slice updates, whatever, whatever you want to think of it. We're going to check if the mouse was clicked uh, on the world. If it was, this Greenfoot mouse info, gets mouse info, and then we can ask like, well, what button was clicked and how many times was it clicked, and I don't know, whatever other stuff we want. So if it was button 1, the left mouse button, what we're going to do is get out the card at, card num mod 52. So this way card num can get above 52 and then we'll just rotate back around and like magically pull that card out again. Um, at that point, it would really be a copy of the card. We're going to add one to card num. So we've got the card. Then we're going to add that object card to 50 plus offset times 40. So offset is initially 0. So that's 0 times 40 plus 50. So that first one in the X dimension is going to be in 50 pixels. Then when offset is 1, that's going to be 1 times 40 plus 50 pixels. That's going to be 90 pixels and so on. So this offset, we keep adding 1 and then multiplying by 40 and adding 50. That's how the cards are sort of walking along. And then 200 for Y, I don't know. I just figured that out that was approximately the middle because I know it's 400 pixels tall. So 200 is about in the middle. I don't know. I just picked that. This, if it's button 2 or button 3, that's basically for a right click. What we're going to do is just remove all the cards. So we're going to say get objects of type card.class. This is going to give us back a list of type card, and then we're going to say remove objects of cards on screen. So it just basically removes all the cards that are on the screen and resets the offset to 0, so things start going in on the left. And that's really it, right? So this card stores all of the cards. This card num tells us like which card we're on, so we can cycle through them. Every time we place a card, we add one to card num. And then if we sort of delete all the cards and reset everything, we jump that back to 0. So it starts over at the beginning. So, I don't know, let's put it all together. So there we are. And then we got these cards. And if we hit right click, it redoes everything. And then if I'm like, you know what, I really like the modern look for the card. So I can go back here into card and I can be like, yep, I really want or maybe I want classic. I don't know. Let's try the classic look, see what this looks like. So I reset this, run it, and now we get these classic looking cards, which is nice. So, cool stuff. This was not super complicated. The hardest part, honestly, was finding different decks of cards. And um, for like once I found the first deck of cards, which was this one, which I've used this for a couple of years now. I don't, honestly can't remember where I got it from, and I'm annoyed because I want to credit the whoever made it. So I think these are really cool. They're very pixelated. They look kind of a little bit retro, I think. And because they're pixelated, they don't have, like if you look at this, they don't have a lot of detail to get. They don't have a lot of like pixels to get this much detail in there. So I think they've actually done a really, really nice job with these. I just can't. Maybe I'll do a reverse image search or something and try to figure that out. Anyway, so I had these. They were a little bit hard to read, and I wanted to give some other options. When I found these, they didn't have the same naming convention, so I had to like write a Python script that went through and like rename. They did have a naming convention, which is a different one. So I had to go through and rewrite things. Oh, I should also say we have back 1, back 2, and back 3 for like different ways of looking at the back of a card. Similarly in wait, I wanted here, cards. Yeah, similarly here we have back and back two. I think these are actually the same. And these are very like look at how nice that is. That is actually really nice, for being pixelated. So I don't know. Anyway, the hardest part about this, believe it or not, was this is just I want to get to the look at this. Look at this. Yeah, there we go. Look at the ace of spades. Exciting. Um, yeah, it was actually getting all the cards and getting them named and then figuring out that it's actually really easy in here to like load the images and then set the image for the sprite so that each sprite has their own unique card image. Turns out that's actually not that hard. So I was kind of like blown away with uh how how easy that actually is. Cool. Well, that's what I've got for this one. Thanks for watching. How do I go down here. I click this, I click stop, and let's get ready to make another video.